Filling up your Airbnb calendar is just like playing a game of Tetris. As the blocks fall onto your calendar, it takes up space. And the more blocks that fall, the harder it is to get the next blocks to fit perfectly. The goal of Airbnb and our calendar is to have no spaces between our reservations. That's how you get to 100% occupancy. And you actually have tools to make it happen. It's not just like the blocks are falling and you're racing to try to put them together like Tetris and regular NES. There's actually rules, rule sets, pricing strategies, different techniques that you can use to make sure that you get to 100% occupancy. And lucky for you, there's no better teacher. My high level on Tetris, regular NES, was level 132 when I was 5. Yeah, I played regular Nintendo. I'm bad.
And I tell, it's shake and bake, and I help.
I've been teaching pricing strategy for 4 years. It's my favorite topic. In this video, I'm going to teach you why your pricing strategy is going to be different than your neighbor's pricing strategy. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's something that you need to learn all of the techniques and then start to apply the ones that will actually affect your portfolio. So my name's Sean Rockygich. This is Airbnb Automated, and let's have some coffee and talk pricing strategy. Welcome back, Airbnb family. You like my new Redwoods coffee cup? Every time I travel, I get a new coffee cup for the place that I went, and it was really hard to find a coffee cup or good coffee in Northern California, which is kind of wild. You need to know pricing strategy. I don't care how simple you think Airbnb is, and a lot of you are happy with the money you've been making with COVID because people are just paying hand over fist money to, of course, stay at your places. But without pricing strategy, you're actually leaving money on the table. You should be charging more certain nights. And still, on principle, you might be holding the line on price on some nights that just won't get booked unless you get a little generous. So I want to talk to you about the concepts of pricing strategy that you need to know, especially if you're kind of newer to the game. But of course, this is a great refresher video for all of you busy hosts that just kind of forget that this is one of the main segments of a successful Airbnb host's portfolio is revenue management pricing strategy. So please like this video before you forget to subscribe if you're new. This is where you get the meat of the business, and let's jump in. Pricing strategy is centered around the concept of dynamic pricing. And what dynamic pricing means is it's just simply to imply that it's the opposite of static pricing. Set it and forget it pricing. What that means is prices can go up or prices can go down certain days of the week based on multiple factors. And this does not mean that you have a weekday rate and a weekend rate. That is good that you're finding a good baseline price to start off with, and competitor research will tell you generally where your base prices should start. That's a good start. Now, you can cut forward and get a lot of benefits of a pricing strategy like dynamic pricing approach immediately by using a software. There are pricing softwares out there. I haven't endorsed one yet. But even with those pricing softwares, you should never take your eye off the ball. That's one thing that a lot of you pro hosts are probably making this mistake. You'll log into one of the 3 major pricing softwares out there and you think that they'll do everything for you, but they won't. One example, one of my students, the pricing software discounted her rates based on supply and demand and different stuff, and then she got a monthly booking. The pricing software drove her price down, and then somebody booked on Airbnb and got the monthly discount. So it's almost like they got double discounted, which was really bad for her. Now, if she was watching her systems, when she saw that her pricing software put her prices down, she should have changed those days and took away the monthly discount. Now, you can do this. Are you confused yet? You can do this with a rule set, and I'm going to explain all of this to you in this video. So first off, let's talk about why you raise and lower your prices. Exhibit A, reasons to raise your prices. Philadelphia is a market that I'm in, much different than Texas. Philadelphia is a tourism market, much different than Dallas. People are traveling to Dallas because there's an exodus of travel because people are generally even moving from California and stuff, and it's a great getaway from COVID from the denser cities. But places like Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, they've got very specific style travel patterns. My pricing strategy is different in Philly than in Dallas. If I want to make a lot of money in Philly, I have to be ready to raise my prices. This is one of the only cities I've ever operated in that raising my prices was a central part of my pricing strategy. See, we've got a base rate, just like with Dallas, right? We set our prices. Our base rates are definitely higher in Philly, by the way. And then what'll happen is some weekends will start to get booked up. Even when our rates are like $300-ish something a night for a studio, the prices start to get booked up and up. And then what we need to do is we need to identify that fast enough, and then we need to raise what is left in our inventory even higher, right? So those $300 studios become $400 studios or $450 studio apartments, right? Because what'll happen is there is such a supply in Philadelphia that weekdays don't get booked unless you drive the prices down. And if you drive the prices down enough, you could actually get bad guests, and there's a balance here. Philadelphia is also one of the cities that is the worst for our portfolio when it comes to bad party guests, people who use drugs, stuff like that. So my pricing strategy now in Philadelphia also has a measure of risk prevention. So we don't want to lower our prices much because we don't want to get bad guests that would ruin our relationship with the building, of course. So we're looking for weekends that prices are going up and up, and we can capture some of that upward movement, which can like help us make a little money if we find days that we can't lower enough, because we're just now entering into an area of risk that we're not cool with. One thing that I will do in a place like Philly when I have to lower my prices on weekdays, we just discussed that weekdays are less popular, and there's already so many Airbnbers that you get your pick of the litter. One of the things we do is we do have minimum night stay requirements when we go to a low enough price point. But we also incentivize 4-day stays using what's called a custom length of stay discount, which is a pro tool. Now, you can have pro tools for hosts if you have multiple Airbnb properties. So if you have 2 Airbnb properties or more, just go to airbnb.com/multi-calendar, and it should load what's called the multi-calendar. But from there, everything should change, which means if you go into any of your listings and then go to pricing and you go to where you can give weekly or monthly discounts, you now should be able to give 4-night or 5-night discounts if you want. And we really lean on a 4-night discount in Philadelphia because people who throw parties aren't staying for 4 days. So we'll strategically give, you can even use a rule set, and this is something that I teach, like I've got like a 2-hour lecture on rule sets in my course, but long story short on rule sets is you can change almost anything you want to change. You can change if you give a 4-night discount or if you give a monthly discount in a rule set. And when you make a rule set that says no discounts, and you wipe away all the discounts, no monthly discounts, no weekly discounts, and you apply it to a day, it only affects that day. It doesn't affect your whole listing, like where normally you go into the listing and set your monthly discount, say at 40%. If you got 2 days that are super cheap because you lower the price, and you add a rule set that takes away the monthly discount, that only affects those 2 days. Now, that is just where things start to get wild. You can do so many things. You could choose to give a 40-day discount instead of a 20-day discount for a 4-day stay. Why would you do that? Well, if you inflated the price for a weekend, but you wanted to still get 4-day stays because you don't like the typical weekend guests you get, you could give a 40-day stay off on your weekends as long as they booked for at least 4 days, but only apply that extra discount to the weekends because the weekends are the ones that are more expensive. That's another way to use a rule set. You can make rule sets that over the course of 5 days slowly discount your rates more and more and more. So it's kind of like an away setting. So that way, 5 days from now, you might give a 15% or 20% discount on your rate. But 4 days from now, 30% off. 3 days from now, 35% off. 2 days from now, 45% off. And then next day, 50% off. And that could be like your last minute pricing arc. And you can build that out in rule sets. Now, these are the types of tools that you have available to you to start to modify your prices. Now, here's some rules to follow, like some, I guess you could say rules of thumb, reasons why we discount. Because we just talked about reasons why we increase price, and the only real way to increase price is to follow the rumor mill. Events are coming, and you can just see your calendars getting booked up or other people are getting booked up. This is the way to know to increase your pricing. Because increasing your pricing is more so based on predictive data, where decreasing your pricing is more based on what we would call your pace. Yeah, we're using terminology here. We're using pace, trailing data. These are all things that revenue managers at hotels will use. Now, if you really want to have fun and you go to be a big company like me, you can hire a revenue manager one day, which we have, and they will play with your prices, and they will do all the market research and tell you when you should raise or lower your prices, and they'll do that for you. But if you're going to do it yourself, like I said, let me tell you how and why to lower your rates. The first rule, let me give you a rule. Always charge more than your competitors. I tell people, automatically raise your rates 30 to 40% more than your competition. But right now, because of COVID, everybody should have raised their rates at least another 25%, but people haven't done that. So you probably should be about 50% on average higher than your competition in price, right? and this is for a one-night stay. You want to allow one-night stays, but at a big fat premium, okay? Because if you allow one-night stays, you'll always show up in search. And showing up in search is key to getting viewed, which is key to getting ranked on Airbnb, and having a high ranking increases your bookings. So even if people don't book you for one night, you want them to be able to see you if they're searching for one night, so they click on you. That's it. But being 50% more than your competitors, they probably will go somewhere else. And having a low conversion rate because you're too expensive does not ruin your SEO. Don't let that myth stop you. So then from there, using the pro tools we discussed, put a 2-day discount of say 15% if you want to be that aggressive. We actually start our good discounts at 3 days or 4 days. So we'll do a 3-day discount of 12% and then a 4-day discount of 18%, or say a 3-day discount of 15 and a 4-day discount of 20. We'll then give a weekly discount, say 25 to 30, and monthly discounts of 35 to 42% for most properties. But then when we have massive properties like the big boys, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom houses, we're charging, just all the money, right? So much money. We had a 3-bedroom property in Houston for 2 years that we ran. Of course, it was on a lease, but we didn't have to buy it. And we paid $2,400 in rent, but made like $9,000 to $11,000 a month for 2 years off of a 3-bedroom apartment in Midtown. It was awesome. It was one of my favorite arbitrage plays I've ever had. And I did a video on that, by the way. You can go back and look at it. So with that property, we had like a $1,200 per night weekend stays, and it would get booked. People would spend over $2,000 for the weekend, Friday and Saturday. It was wonderful. But then we'd have weekday prices of like say $550. Now, what would happen is if somebody booked for the month, they would get 55% off, right? So they're actually only paying $500 for the weekends and $250-ish, $220 on the weekdays. People would book the whole month and we'd still get paid a king's ransom, right? Now the reason why we were willing to take that trade instead of taking the weekends at $1,000 is because that becomes passive, right? So another factor to include in is how low you're willing to go for length of stay. You should factor in your cost savings, right? Do you have to hire housekeepers? What's your management load on that property when it's actively on the market? Other things to consider when setting your monthly pricing. And so for our biggest properties, we would set 50% monthly discounts because taking a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom house off the market and getting a fat monthly rent is great for us, because otherwise try cleaning a 4-bedroom house 10 times a month. It's a lot of work. So 50% discounts saves the day. Now from there, aside from having your base prices and your length of stay discounts set based on your market, right? You can either jack up weekend prices like we said. In a place like Dallas, we don't jack them up as much because everything's more stable, right? You are going to have that set. But now, once you get a booking, now this is where dynamic pricing starts to get fun. Let's just not even include something that we're about to talk about, which is lead time. Let's just say time doesn't exist and you get a booking. Outside of any sort of time implications of how long you have to get the other days booked, when you get a booking from now or in the future, let's say it's 5 days long. Somebody's checking in on the 5th, leaving on the 10th, something like that. Well, the day of the 5th, somebody could stay the day of the 4th, right? And then check out on the 5th. Well, because of that, you should lower the day of the 4th. And the reason why you should automatically lower the day of the 4th, say about 30%, right? 30 or 35% discount automatically because it's adjacent to another booking, is the reason why is the 4th is now infinitely harder to find on your calendar. If somebody's going to find the 4th and book you, their checkout has to be on the 5th, right? So because there's a person checking in on the 5th. They can't check out on the 6th, 7th, or 8th, right? So there could be a 1-night stay from the 4th, checking out on the 5th, a 2-night stay on the 3rd to the 5th, a 3-night stay, on the 2nd to the 5th. But it always has to end on the 5th. And because of how Airbnb fits you for search, if you're not 100% available for what somebody's searching for, you just won't show up. So because you have a booking, the day before and the day after become extremely hard to get booked. So you should drop those rates by about 30% automatically. Now, I will say this does not apply if that day is a weekend, right? Because you can get a 1-night stay or if it's a Sunday, right? So let's say someone is checking in on a Sunday. That's probably the busiest day for cleanings for us. We know that the place is going to get booked Saturday or Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So if the day is a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, we don't discount, right? If it's a weekday, we do. So that's number one. Second concept is lead time, which I just alluded to. The concept of lead time is that it's like selling an airline. If you have 2 months to get your calendar full, right now it's end of August. So September, October. Anything in October, I'm not discounting October right now. If anything, I'm looking for reasons to increase my prices in October, right? Because we want to predict if we can make more money. But what will happen is that as October comes and October becomes like, say, our version of September, right now it's right around the 20th of August, roughly, and we have 10 days until September 1st. Well, my biggest properties, they should have groups of 8, 10, or 12 like already booked. If I don't have groups of 8, 10, or 12 booked for September 1st, like the first week of September, now I'm starting to get concerned. I'm going to have to start to lower my prices because I only have 10 days to get a booking. And bigger groups, they book further in advance. So my likelihood of getting a group of 10 to book for like the last week of August is highly unlikely for a 4-bedroom house. So I have to lower my prices with a bigger property to become more attractive to a group of 3 or 4 or 5, because they might still be booking a week out. See, Airbnb's lead time for bookings for smaller groups, like say an individual or a couple, can be 3 to 5 days, right? Or can be as low as same day. Like you can get your studio booked same day all the time in major metros like this. But a 4-bedroom house, good luck, because there's not a group of 10 randomly looking for a place. Unless something went terribly wrong and they could not stay in another Airbnb because a host screwed up and you have your 4-bedroom house available, sometimes Airbnb will call you and say, hey, we have a guest that needs a place, can you host them? Sometimes you can get that lucky, but you should not plan on that. So you should be dropping your rates, say inside of 10 days or 14 days for bigger properties. You absolutely should be dropping your rates within 4 days or 5 days for studios, because that's same lead time. You can start giving 10, 15, 20, 25, 30% off as it gets closer. And like I said, you can automate this with a rule set, which I teach all about rule sets in my program. Now, another thing that you should consider is seasonality in your market as it affects your pricing strategy. Dallas has a much more even curve, like I said, but Philadelphia should have a hot girl summer, and then it should just crash, like January, February should be terrible. COVID changed that. Normally we have a hot December too because of Christmas events and stuff like that, but COVID, all the events got canceled last year. So the thing about Philadelphia is we did not have a killer November, December with a bad January, February. We had a bad November, December, January, February, March, and we had a pretty slushy April as well. So we just had a really bad half of the year because of COVID. Thank God, Texas was doing so well. We're printing so much money during just the whole time that it floated my Philadelphia properties, and they did not need to be, profitable. We could have funded it with all of our Dallas money. So that's how we did during COVID, by the way. We did just fine. We had like a bad 6 weeks, but we did fine. So seasonality matters. So now knowing that Philadelphia has a bad winter, my strategy is to fill my studio apartments, my 1-bedrooms, and hopefully even my bigger houses with 2-month-long stays or 3-month-long stays coming into January. If I can get 3 weeks of January or all of January and a week of February booked with a long-term stay, and we will call this de-risking. If I can take the risk out by having it pre-booked with a monthly stay at a very small profitability, I know that, out of 30 properties, I know that 15 of them are guaranteed to be slightly profitable because we've got these monthly stays. I can then take a little bit more risk with the rest of my portfolio. But if I have a fully exposed portfolio going into slow season, I'm not happy, right? So my tip to you here is de-risk in the slow seasons by finding ways to get your property sold off so you're not going into slow season with a full boat of short-term rentals in slow season. You can do this with insurance companies. You can go multi-platform, VRBO, other places like that, Furnished Finder, Copa, places that really focus on monthly stays. And you can also directly market them off yourself and do some direct bookings. Mark from Boostly can teach you how to do that, by the way. He's actually a really fun guy too. So just talk to him, if anything, for his personality. So seasonality will play in because going into hot season, you want to make sure you're priced at a premium. Going into slow season, you want to make sure you have good prices, but you want to sell off a portion of your portfolio to de-risk. And that will make you just so much more money more consistently than just signing up to lose money for 2 months of the year in Chicago. There are people like that are just like, yeah, we're going to lose money. We just know we're going to lose money 2 months a year, make as much as we can the other 10. So they know that dynamic pricing can make them a good amount of money in their hot season, but they don't have a preventative strategy with their pricing strategy for slow season. At this point, guys, I've got some more for you too, but I'd like to know what questions you have. So I want to just, encourage you guys to put it in the comments. If you're working in a rural area, urban area, vacation, place with a lot of monthly workers, you're about to start an Airbnb, you've got questions, put them in the comments. I teach this every day, and I've done it for 4 years, and I would love to hear what you're having problems with. So please put in the comments so I can answer. I might just answer there, or I'll make you a dedicated video while I'm having coffee. So we've covered seasonality. We've covered adjacent days and searchability. We've covered lead time, which is how much time you have to get booked. Now, we've also covered cost basis discounts for when you have longer stays. These are all good, but now let's talk about game theory. Woo, baby, game theory. Okay, so game theory, this is fun. The tinfoil hat, all right? Put my conspiracy theory hat on. This is some fun stuff. Game theory really plays into my slow season pricing strategy, because what'll happen, now listen to me, listen close. What happens is every host develops a static strategy to their pricing. Every host has what they think to be the best. If you go and do searches on Airbnb, you'll see that hosts have a 2-day minimum stay or 3-day minimum stay. They've got a weekday price and a weekend price, and that doesn't change year round. You might see a slight fluctuation because they're using a pricing algorithm to drive prices up or down in general, but the length of stay discounts, their minimum length of stay requirements don't change. So what I did one year back in Houston, we're in the middle of their slow season. They have like slow spikes, like February is slow, August can be slow. So we just have like little spikes of slow. And so during our winter slow season, I created a discount where if people booked, like I said, 4 days through the weekend, they would get a discount on the weekend, and the weekend price would be the same day as a weekday price. And now everybody else had an expensive weekend and they had their low price weekdays, and they were all fighting for the same customer, which is the ones that check in on Friday, leave on Sunday. That's what everybody in Houston was looking for, was the weekend traffic. But when I dropped my weekday prices, as long as the length of stay was long enough, didn't even have to be a week, right? It could be a 4-day or 5-day stay or a 6-day stay, which other people didn't have 4-day, 5-day, or 6-day discounts. They only had weekly discounts, right? So there's a gap in the market. No one was marketing towards the 4 to 6 day long stays with custom length of stay discounts. So what I did is I had these discounts that made staying with me attractive through the weekend. So I started to get these Thursday to Monday bookings, right? Tons of Thursday to Monday bookings, or Wednesday to Monday, or Tuesday to Sunday bookings, where people were staying through the weekend for work. They had to be there for work, and they didn't want to pay a stupid price on the weekends. So then my calendars were like 80-something% full off of that strategy, while everybody else's were like 40%. That's game theory. Everyone else is throwing rock, you throw paper. Okay, you go a different path. That's just how we play the game. Now you can apply this game theory approach in any market. Just look at what all the hosts are doing, and you can find out what customer are they trying to capture. And then when it comes to this bottleneck of supply and demand, you'll notice that everybody's clamoring, because they're stressed, they're clamoring for what they think to be the most obvious solution, which is their archetype customer. But they're not going for this secondary customer that has a different booking behavior. I know we're getting a little nerdy on that, but pricing strategy controls booking behavior. Just remember that always. And so I was able to control booking behavior. People who wanted to stay through the weekend would come to me. Now, you guys can do the same thing. You can make you can price to incentivize a 2-week stay, right? Because let's say, here's another game theory. Let's say in a slow market, there's 2,000 listings, right? And in slow season, there's going to be 5,000 customers, okay? Out of the customers that you get, out of the 5,000 you get, you're only gonna get like a small percentage of them. Do you want the ones that book for 1 night or 2 nights? Or if you only are gonna get a small amount of customers through the 3 months that it's a slow season, do you want the ones that are gonna book for 6 weeks, right? If you still can only have 4 customers, do you want customers that book by the month or by the day to cover your 3-month span of slow season if you only had 4 customers? You'd want the monthly ones, because that's 100% occupancy, and that's money in your pocket. See, and other hosts aren't thinking like that. They just want as many customers as they can get their hands on, but in a slow market, there may not be anything that you can do to increase how many total customers you're going to get, but your pricing strategy can dictate which ones you're going to get. And so you should go for monthly stays in slow season, because if you're only gonna get a few customers, get the ones that pay you for more days, become attractive. Start selling off your property in a way that other people don't, and you're creating your own highway to success while everyone else is like congested on the main interchange. So if I can put into review a few things that you guys need to know that are important. Bigger properties have to lower their prices faster, like further out, because bigger groups book further out. So you're changing your prices based on what customers you think you can get. Having a different pricing strategy than your competitors is always a good idea. Having a 1-night minimum instead of a 2-night minimum or longer is always a good idea. Just raise your rates if you don't want to get booked. Always watch your calendar whether or not you have a software, all right? Always adjust your prices for adjacent days because they're harder to find. Make sure that you understand how discounting your rates can still be influenced by the length of stay discounts. Be careful when you lower your prices so you don't get a double discount where you give somebody a house for $90 and then they get 40% off for the month. And then you're operating at a loss for some reason. Just always be careful. If you want to learn all of my rule sets, how I apply my rule sets in my pricing strategy, if you want to understand how to do predictive pricing, direct bookings, off Airbnb stuff, you want to really drive your revenue up, honestly, my course is the best way to go. I do have a pricing only course, but I have one that includes my pricing course that includes a year of coaching where you can talk to me every Saturday. So there's a link in the description. If anything, join my Facebook group first. You don't have to believe me yet that my course is the bee's knees, okay? But go to my Facebook group. We're like over 20,000 hosts strong. You can ask people about pricing strategy or any other question that you have that you feel like you want more of a consensus answer. If you want the guru answer, ask me in the comments. But if you want 20 hosts to get into a debate over a topic and you really feel like you want to witness that debate and find, get to the bottom of something, then join my Facebook group, the Hosts of Airbnb Automated. Links in the description. It'd be good to have you. And then maybe you'll ask me some more questions there because I do watch that comment thread, the whole thing. So thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was nerdy, but it's one of my favorite things to talk about and it will make you a lot of money. So share this with your host friends. And remember, please subscribe. You're part of my family now. You just watched me for almost half an hour. I'll see you on the other side.